Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was avatar of the goddesses, Naruto x Kami and Yami, part 1. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. I do not own this fanfic, and also make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, Galaxy Knight C21, and support him for writing this awesome fanfic. Link is in the description. So let's get into the video. Dead silence. I hate this, Yami replied, getting out of her throne. How do you think we feel about Yami? The two asked. I don't know, tired maybe, sad, angry, stressed, unsatisfied. Yami said the last part inaudible for the others not to hear. Sadly they were all gods, so, gee, you think, the two practically shouted. We've been here watching universe after universe filled to brim with nothing but action, adventure, excitement, and now there is nothing left exciting, Kami said, walking to Yami. You got a point there, Yami replied, backing away. Of course I got a point. There is nothing left. We are going to have to wait for who knows how long, until a new universe picks up, right Shin? Kami said, waiting for her to reply. Shin? Kami asked, turning around to face Shin. Only to face the Shinigami reading a book with a bloody nose and a blushing face. Shin, just what are you reading? Kami shouted. Nothing, she said, closing the book, stuffing it away. Give it to me now, she commanded. And the Shinigami complied. After all, without Kami there'd be no creation of souls, and no souls equal no power in her case. So she complied. What is this? Yami asked to inspect the book in Kami's hands. A fanfiction book, written by the baddest writer back in 2015, but stopped in 2017 with just 14 chapters. I don't know why, but he just did, Shin replied. Why do you have this? Kami questioned. The Naruto fandom has a lot of fanfiction writers, and they write about a lot of stuff, interesting stuff. It compelled me to search one or even a few with us, as characters in it. And boy was there so much. It did not continue, though sadly, the masterpiece in your hand did not continue since 2017, Shin replied sadly with comical tears running down her smooth face. Masterpiece, Kami? And Yami asked, surprised. Read it, and then you'll see why it is called a masterpiece, Shin said calmly. Kami turned around to her throne with Yami. Both read its title, Deus Ex Naruto. Several chapters later. Wow, you were so right, the two simply said. Shin smiled, said smugly, told you so. We gotta continue it, the two said. Ha, the creator couldn't finish it. He's to say we could, Shin said luckily. Got us there, Kami said sadly before continuing. The creator never did continue with it, but we could make our own version of it, Kami said, now more fired up. Keep talking, Shin said, now curious. Think about it. He created a story with Naruto being basically our avatar for entertainment, but who's to say we can't do that too? Yes, we'll have to change a few things, yes, but that doesn't mean it won't be original. Kami summed up her idea. Interesting, so we continue his story, but in our own way, correct? Shin asked, interested. Yep, so what do you say? Kami Yami with anticipation. I say, let's make our own avatar, Shin said, excited. Yes. The two beam jumped. So tell me, my sisters, where do we begin? Shin asked, now excited that this is finally happening. After almost 4 years now of no continuation, a new beginning can bring light to the waiters. They just have to be patient. Kami and Yami just continued smiling, and plainly said, to our own beginning. In the Naruto verse, Konoha Kyuubi attack, 12 years ago. It was released. Nobody knew how, but it was released, the nine-tailed fox, and it destroyed everything. Nothing was left untouched. Inside a green clearing, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, and Kushina Uzumaki, the Red Death, were battling against the Kushina who had in her chains, but only for a certain time. Minato, please don't do this, Kushina shouted, panting hard, and just trying to stay awake from the exhaustion her body has been put through. And right now what is taking place? A new thing is taking place. Naruto Uzumaki, their son. I'm sorry, Kushina, but as of right now he'll be Konoha's new, Minato said with his back facing her, and with no hesitation at all. Turns out, she was of no use anymore to the village, so they'll just have to use her son. To Minato the village has, and always will come first, and his family second. He doesn't care what can happen to his family unless the village carries on. Minato, Kushina the Kyuubi said, trying to get unrestrained, interrupting his train of thought. Sorry Kyuubi, but I think you can still be of use to the village again, Minato said, picking up Naruto out of cradle. Minato, ow, damn, Kushina said, trying to hold the Kyuubi to stop Minato, but is failing very badly. Just stop, Kushina. Can't you see that this is best for the village? How we need another weapon, and that is our weapon. Minato said, pointing to the Kyuubi. You think I still care about this village even after everything that they've done? My villag Yuzashiro, my father, my mother, my sister, my friends, and now my son. I am sick of it. I'm sick of it all. Please Minato, don't do this, she said, bowing, and pleading for him to stop this. So that's it, hot pity. I thought at least you would know what kind of situation you're in, he said with cold eyes, now turning back to the Kyuubi, and walking towards it, and away from his now ex-wife. Goodbye Kushina, he said, walking closer to it. Minato Kyuubi saw the opportunity to kill the bastard for what he had just done to Kushina, aiming its claw to kill Minato, and not the sleeping baby Naruto, which confused him to why he could not will himself to kill the baby. Minato had little to no time to dodge or block the incoming claw of the Kyuubi, just when he saw his life flash before his eyes. She appeared, stopping its attack, the goddess of death. And now everyone knew, shit was about to happen. A pity, Minato, I hoped at least in this universe you would be different here. I guess it was just too much to ask or expect in your case, the Shinigami said, disappointing that it also happened here. Shinai Minato tried talking, but was too scared to even get out her name or a sentence for the matter. Why don't I make this easier for you, she said, letting go of the Kyuubi's claw, and walked to Minato. Pakai was the only word she said before. Those were Minato's last scream before the Shinigami practically erased him out of existence with the purple energy erasing technique. And so Naruto woke up in a crying fit. Shush, it's okay, don't worry, the Shinigami said, picking up Naruto and handing him to his mother back. Here you go, sleep well, she said, throwing some sleeping sand on his face. And then he was out like a light. Why are you here? Shinigami Kyuubi asked, wanting answers now that he's out of those chains. Instead of answering right away, she scooped the place out to see nothing but destruction. Guess she got a bit out of hand. Let's go someplace else. We can talk better there without interruption, she said before clicking her fingers. And so the Kyuubi, the two Uzumakis, and the Death God herself, teleported someplace more their needs. In one of the many voids. Kyuubi, where are we? He asked, confused to find them in a throne room. Shinigami, we are in one of the many dimensional voids or rifts we made just for this case, she said, looking at baby Naruto. Kushina, we? She asked, confused, holding her baby more possessive-like. Indeed, we, two figures said simultaneously, and walked out to show who they were. And to say they were shocked would be an understatement because they literally just saw the goddess of death. Now they are in witness to the goddess of life, Kami, and leader demon goddess of the underworld, Yami. Kushina and the Kyuubi were now on the verge of passing out, or worse, maybe even passing on. Kami, Kushina Uzumaki, she said, full of authority, we have come to ask you, and the Kyuubi, a favor, she said, patiently waiting to them to calm down. Yami, indeed, we wish to hear what your answer would be, she said, following Kami's actions. Kushina. Well then, ask away, she said, full with dry mouth, and tired-like. Shinigami then stood up, walked to Kushina, and restored her health to what was before the attack. There we go, good, as new, she said, smiling genuinely. Shinigami then called her sisters her way. Right then, Kushina, I know this is a lot to take in, you know, seeing literally three powerful goddesses in front of you, but we have come to ask you a question, she first started. One that's answer could affect your whole timeline. Granted, I just did that by killing Minato, and bringing you here, but that's beside the point, Kami then began. So Kushina, will you allow us to make Naruto our avatar? Yami was the last to speak, and Kushina was shocked, but the Kyuubi was curious to say the least. Hold on, what's this sudden interest in this baby? I mean, come on, he's just a child. Nothing too big on that, Kyuubi asked, waiting for their answer. The three goddesses just simply smiled and said, besides being the son of the two most influential people in the future, this child becomes your last hope. Like before, Shinigami started it out. He unites all your nations together, and Kami in the middle. Throughout all the multiverse, his story is the one that never ends, and Yami finishing it. So we decided to make him our avatar, there said simultaneously. Kushina smiled hearing all of that. Even if they didn't pitch up, Naruto would still be the man she hoped he would become with or without her. So, Kushina, what will your answer be? Shinigami asked, already knowing what it will be. My answer, well, it would have to be a yes. Naruto may be your avatar, she said in the most certain manner ever. No hesitation at all. Kanayami beamed once more. Fantastic, Shinigami said, knowing this would happen. Well then, Kyuubi, why don't you drop out of that form, will you? She followed up with. Kushina was once again confused. What did the Shinigami mean by that? Kyuubi, form. I have no idea what you are talking of, Death Goddess, he said in a panicking. Oh, drop the act, Kyushu, we're goddesses after all, Kami said in a laid-back, affectionate manner. Well, it was fun until it lasted, he said before. Proof. A smoke cloud came from the Kyuubi's path once it cleared. You could say the angels praised the demon Kyuubi here. The woman with long flowing dark red hair and orange tips appeared where she was. She had golden red eyes with skits in between. She had an alluring, hypnotic, voluptuous body fit for a demon queen, GG cup a pace, tone-fitting bod, and gravity-defying jiggling ass. She wore a queen red yukata gown with light orange, dark orange engraving symbols. Everywhere it indicates loyalty, trust, power, etc. She also wore light blue pants, orange heels with a weapon holster on her right hip meant for her sword. She also had 9 floating foxtails behind her, and adult-grown fox ears on top of her head. She is known as the demon's angel Kyushu. Kushina was blown out of her mind. You're a woman, she said, uproaring. I always was one, tomato head, and the name's Kyushu, Kyushu said plainly. Kushina was now back to being in her red-hot habanero state. RHH. Things were about to get messy. That was until they stepped in by handing them copies of that book. What's this? What's this? Kyushu, Kushina asked simultaneously. Something that will make you both understand everything here we plan to do, Shinigami said flatly. Come along, long children, we got a lot to do, Kami said, calling them all to the center void. Hey, we never specified what powers we would give him, Yami whispered to her sisters. I guess we never did. Well, we'll just have to think of it in our way, Shinigami said, once again looking at baby Naruto. This way, Naruto, we'll make sure you get it all, and we get our fill of, as well, she thought to herself. And soon they all followed suit to Naruto, each thinking their own ideal. and this will now trigger a new timeline to falter in. The avatar hero Naruto, the goddess's voice. Chaos will now be brought in many different dimensions or places. You find of course exotic or rare unique animals, and land, plants, flowers, and the type of land, or culture even. And just like many, this one had it all, with green fertile land, rocky high mountains, tall trees, and a silver blue was beautiful, and very unique, and luckily it had no animals because, boom. An explosion goes off, setting the dimension in a blaze of disoriented energy waves of power. It destroyed like 2 to 3 of the rocky high mountains, and messed up even a good part of the land. One mountain even fell on itself. And in the midst of the distance we could easily analyze who were the culprits. There were 5 of them. The first 3 were easily recognized as the 3 known guardian goddesses of the multiverse. The Shinigami goddess of death, Kami the goddess of life and creation, and Yami leader and demon goddess of the underworld. Only an idiot would not know of them or even heard of them. The 4th one was a woman with long flowing dark red hair and orange. She had golden red eyes with black skits in between. She had an alluring hypnotic voluptuous body fit for a demon queen GG cup up pace, tone-fitting bod, and gravity-defying jiggling ass. She wore a queen red battle kimono with tribe engravings, symbolizing all forms of trust, loyalty, and honor. She also wore a weapon holster on her right hip meant for her sword. She also had 9 floating fox tails behind her, and adult-grown fox ears on top of her head. She is now known in most worlds as the demon's angel Kyushu, the 9-tailed demoness. And finally, the 5th person standing within the smoke and range of the 4 known bringers of death. In the midst of the smoke you could easily tell it was a man, 8 big, extremely hot abs, dangerous man though. The man had sun-blonde spiky soft hair with small silver white, light green, and dark black, and red tips each around his hair. He had blue oceanic sky eyes. He had 3 whisker marks on each of his cheeks, and you could easily tell he took after his mother. He wore a pair of dark blue pants, and it had black lining on each leg, having a wrapping on his right leg to keep his only weapon. He also wore a cloud white shirt with orange engraving on it, signifying loyalty, pain, and truth. He also had wrappings on his left arm, meaning he was already in countless battles. He had on black combat boots. This is the man, the legend, the literal god of fanfiction. It's the person you all have been waiting for, the goddess's chosen Naruto Uzumaki, the avatar hero. He is currently 16,000 years old, and is basically a god, well, a god-like being in his case. Ever since the day he was born, Shiny-chan, Kami-chan, and Yami-chan have stuck by his side, as well as his Ka-chan, and Kyushu-chan. They were pretty awesome, as well as hot. He can't keep his eyes off them. Yep, life has been pretty amazing. Mind the hellfire training has been put through, it's been good. He get overpowering powers and abilities. He gets to be trained by powerful and extremely hot goddesses, and be in their presence. He gets to learn about everything, and he does mean everything. He couldn't wait until they all start the test. Currently all 3 goddesses and Kyushu were standing together away from Naruto on their fighting platform in the dimension. Alright, Naruto, it's time for the test. Are you ready? Shinigami said loud enough for him to hear, waiting for his answer. After receiving a nod of confirmation from her soon-to-avatar and lover, she went into her death state for battle, gaining black death marks on her body, blood-red eyes, and her nails were now sharp enough to gauge blood out from everywhere. She also received her 2 Tanto curse blades ready and waiting. Kami, who then saw the exchange, went into her wild nature state, gaining her green hair to float, black cola eyes, and light blue markings along her body. She then revealed her body and coated it in armor made out of ice, clearly waiting for her target to attack first. Yami, who was amused that her supposed elder superior sister and younger sister was only going in the first stage of their power, she decided to follow along. Her dark flowing hair became longer until it reached her tight, cute plump butt. Her eyes changed into a deeper red soul color, meant to indicate hell will be unleashed soon. Soon flame red demon marks appeared all around her body, and only then did her demon sword appear, and she coated it in hell's flare flame, a flame that is said could easily surpass the Amaterasu flame in power. I mean, it does come from hell. So now all 3 goddesses have now activated the first stage of their power, and are waiting for their target to activate and attack them soon. Kyushu was just staring at all of them, wondering if she could really fight him. She, as well as the others, raised him to what he is today, so really she asked herself, could she really do it? Bump 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 bump. Her heart was now beating faster, sweat secreting quicker, and her hand was shaking profoundly. This continued on, and by now she knew she couldn't. But of course, being sealed within an Uzumaki for almost 2 generations, had to change her nature by some default. And so, she looked up, and saw his blue oceanic worrying eyes. Looking into those eyes of his, she knew she had to do this. If not for her, then for him she would test him out to his full potential. Now with steel resolve, she charged her chakra up to 3 taels worth, gaining her fear look and physical boost, as well increases in certain areas. And by now if anyone of a normal stature would, and could feel the 3 goddesses in Kyushu's bloodlust and thirst for battle, anyone of a normal stature would have, and most definitely have died. But not Naruto. In his case this was just a training test. Sure, he would now have to fight all 3 of his senseis and caretaker, when normally he would have just fought one, but at least he could look at it in another way. This way I could most definitely and accurately test how far he has come in his countless meticulous training of his abilities. And getting one of goddesses to activate her second or third level won't do it. His goal right now was to push all of the goddesses and Kyushu's power as far as he could, even if he had to subject his body. This was going to be fun, not to mention arousing. Note to the readers, in Naruto's case, he loves and adores strong women. He also loves to make them stronger. With that last thought in his mind, he dropped one of his limiters, and his power level increased from 3.5% to 15%. In normal cases, this would not be enough, but for this godlike avatar, it will be more than enough. Naruto's left eye had the Rin Sharingan, and the right eye became red, and gained a fox slit in between the eye. His chakra level spiked a white-black swirling whole aura around him, before increasing at incredible rates. His chakra even at just 15%. The ground that he was standing on started to go in a frenzy. His chakra was first destroying the soil, and then bringing life back to it, and then circling it every time. His chakra was just insane. Naruto's sun golden hair then gained a silver tint within it, and started to get into a more wild state, like floating on its own. He was Kai, and UI signed to 35% at the same time. His chakra eventually decided back within his body, leaving him in his current 15% strength state. Shinigami, you certainly have came a long way, haven't you, Naruto? She smiled happily, knowing what he wants to do. Naruto, it's all thanks to you for me, Shiny Sensei, Yami Sensei, Kami Sensei, and yes, even you, Kyushu-chan. He smiled at all of them, thinking of all the things that they did for him, before getting back into serious mode. But now it's time to see how far I have come, he said, before coating his arms and hands in armament, and coating his ninja kunai along in armament too. The air silenced, and grew tense. Nobody dare moved a muscle, and it looked like no one was going to move until, oh my god, this is so annoying. It was Yami, unsurprisingly, who made the first move by taking to the air to make it earth-shattering. Everyone was also unsurprisingly though by that outburst. Yami, the one who thirsts for battle and power of the three, was now taking the initiative. Naruto for one was just happy someone finally took the initiative, and wasn't bothered at all at the airstrike coming his way. Endless flare. Yami blade was now surrounded by a full-on hull flame, and came down to meet Naruto's kunai. Conquerors/Naruto's kunai was now coated in conquerors along with armament too, and went up to meet Yami's blade. The two weapons met, and created a black hole storm that surrounded both of them. The two didn't seem to let up, and just kept pushing on another to let up attack. The storm continued for almost 2 minutes, and it seemed to now be in Yami's favor by kicking up her hell flame to a blue lava state. Not to be outmatched so soon, Naruto amped up to use Amaterasu, and used chakra and kai to enhance the slash that soon would be met. Amaterasu. Naruto now had Yami right where he wanted her. Naruto now gained the upper hand, and outmatched her with his enhanced strength, and threw her out of his path. Yami smirked. I'm surprised you normally don't use enhanced strikes, she said mockingly. Naruto cut out his Amaterasu flames. Yeah, well, normally you are the first one to go in for the strike, so he said back mockingly. Yami was now more fired up. Hey, are you girls just going to stand there, or are you going to join in? I mean, this is Naruto's current strength test, she said, barking at her older sisters, and tag along. The other three got out of their own little world, and joined their younger sisters. And not so surprisingly, it was Shinigami this time who made the first move, well, second move, by trying to slash Naruto at super speeds. Let's go, Shinigami said, hoping to get her other sisters and caretaker to now get in after her, and Kami's watch earlier. Glaciator Iris. Kami conjured up a giant moving hand made of ice to throw off Naruto's dodging pursuit. Sadly, it didn't do much, but it did slow him down, and when they saw they weren't making much progress. 9 chakra chains. Kyushu finally decided to make her move by summoning 9 chakra chains similar to the Uzumaki chakra chains, each one coated in one different element and amount of chakra. Sadly, it didn't do much with Naruto Destroyer Kai to immediately erase her first action. Now she knew what to do, but first, Hell's Rider Yami thought up a plan. She brought up her own giant moving hand made of Hell's flames, but instead of trying to throwing Naruto's dodging pursuit, it high-fived the giant moving ice hand instead. This confused Naruto, of course, but then he saw steam, and then he got what they were trying to do. Shinigami just smirked, and was impressed at what Yami came up with. Watch your back now, Naruto, she said sensually, and disappeared in the steam. Naruto had to now think fast, because if he doesn't they will corner him, and attack relentlessly, and he didn't want that. Kage no Bunch and everyone heard Naruto's, and prepared for the onslaught of Shadow Clone, but instead, Shino Tensei, they got the opposite. The clones surrounded Naruto in a circle, and drove the steam away from him. The clones dispelled, and out came Naruto smiling at Yami, knowing it was her idea. Smart, but not smart enough for me, Yami, he said, charging up more chakra. Kami. Naruto disappeared in a black mist before anyone could blink. Kage no Bunch and Naruto reappeared along with 3 more clones behind him, and decided to charge up their own attacks. Wine style Rasen Shuriken. Naruto charged up, throwing it to Shinigami. Rasen Chidori Clone 1 charged up, everyone hearing birds chirp before a lightning blaze ran to Kami. Dragon Rasengan Clone 2 charged up a normal looking Rasengan before crushing it, and charging up got Kai, and the Dragon Fist technique into it. Now, his hand was a fist fueled with compacted energy, and he aimed it at Yami. Infinite Rasengan Cannon Clone 3, charged up also a normal looking before adding curse energy, and the infinity technique his Rasengan, now had a darker purple-blue color, and was thrashing around wildly. The four were prepared to dodge or get out of there if it was too late or too much, but due to Naruto's high IQ, they wouldn't get far. Because before the four attacks were in their range it disappeared in the familiar black mist, and before anyone knew what was going on, boom. The four attacks landed on their backs, and the Naruto plus the three clones earlier dispersed into smokes, indicating all four were clones. And the real Naruto was in his Kamui dimension orchestrating it all. He was the one who threw the attacks behind them, and was now out smirking in satisfaction. The attacks were powerful, yes, but against three goddesses, and a demon fox, he knew it wouldn't do much. They got up, and smiled at Naruto, knowing their fight was going to carry out, and with their current stage of power, it wouldn't help much staying at the level they were at. Hey girls, I think it's time to kick it up a notch, wouldn't you say? Shinigami said in satisfaction, knowing he can go so far at least against S-rank or higher opponents at just 15%. Indeed, Kami said, smiling. Totally, Yami said, smiling along. Completely, Kyushu agreed. A few hours later, the battlefield. From then on, the three goddesses and the tailed fox kept staging up and increasing their power input and output in every difficult situation, and Naruto, well being Naruto, he followed along, and the results were incredible. Naruto achieved his goal, making the three stage up not twice, not 3 times, but 6 times with Kyushu. However, he pushed her up all the way up to use a part of 6 paths mode and her full chakra mode, tailed beast mode, chakra mode coating over it. It was an accomplishment, alright. Sure, he had to charge up too, but it wasn't much, just a mere 49%. It wasn't much, right. The battlefield was incinerated and destroyed. Destruction laid everywhere. The land was completely messed up. Fire, ice, curse energy, and death, you name it, it was covered in everything. And the three goddesses, well, they weren't looking so well either. They were panting and fighting to stand up. Kami had blood and scratches everywhere, not to mention her, she was tired, which was a first. She also had torn up clothing here and there. Yami was covered in ice shards and flame marks, and along her younger sister was tired too, as well as torn up pieces of her clothes. Shinigami was covered in marks and dragon bite marks everywhere, but her back, and man was she tired, but proud. She had pieces and scratches here and there. And finally, the demoness fox herself, she waxed panting tiredly, had slash made all over her, as well as conquer marks too, burn marks, and destroyer marks too. Needless to say, she was in pain, but she liked it. For what all four of them saw in front of them, they were all proud to see Naruto still standing with blood leaking down his chest. His shirt was torn earlier from their stage up attacks. His earlier kunai was disregarded, and had now a bloody tanto which he stole from Shinigami. He was bruised, and had energy cuts, and marks all around his body. Overall, he was tired, but satisfied he came this far along, and at least now he knows he brought the three goddess to level 6, which is to be over Kagaya's sage of 6 paths, and any of the Otsutsuki level threats that would arrive years later, and call themselves gods. He could beat them at just 49% of his power, and imagine if he still didn't hold himself back. That would be the fight of the century, not to mention a fast fight. But of course, himself going against 3 goddesses, and the Kyuubi alone just meant he wasn't going to have much a chance of winning. Still, he put up an awesome fight. Naruto then passed out of exhaustion, and the 3 goddesses and Kyushu smiled proudly and affectionately before healing themselves, and Naruto along with them. They stood up, fixed the land around them, and went back to help Naruto. Kami, he looks so peaceful, doesn't he? She said, messing with his hair effectively. Yami, yeah, I know what you mean, she said, happily playing with his muscles. Kyushu, you got that right, she said, laying on his chest possessively listening to his heartbeat. Shinigami, it's time, she said, simply looking around her. The other 2 goddesses demonists were shocked to hear the oldest sister's declaration, but nonetheless they knew he had it in him, and smiled cheerfully. Now in the present, in the void, it has been a wild ride. Everyone could say that much after the whole ordeal with the 3 known goddesses. The Shinigami told Kushina and Kyushu to read the book that she gave to them to educate themselves on what would take place over the years after they took Naruto somewhere. The book was very interactive, to say the least. It was just plot, information, sex, plot, sex, information, and it just kept repeating itself over and over. Kyushu read the book over 45 times and would not stop reading it. She says it is to be informative for the goddess's case. A pervert is what they would call her. Anyways, the goddesses basically pampered Naruto and kept training him by the time he was 6. Crazy, but fair is what Kyushu said to Kushina, trying to calm me down for being the safety mother I am. She also said an avatar of the gods must be nurtured carefully and must be suited to their needs and desires. Your kid is lucky they chose him, trust me Kushina, he'll be fine. Those were the last words she said before going back to read that book, probably waiting until she can pounce onto him when he's older. Not that she could blame her though, pedo pervert. Kushina had and pampered Naruto for 5 whole years all to herself in the void, but when he turned 6, the goddesses began his training. Every year, one of the 3 goddesses would take Naruto to their own separate dimension, where they would train him separately for 1000 years. It was strange for Kushina and Kyushu to see him leave the void for 1000 years, and return in a years, only to see go off again in a week or so. The Shinigami decided taking Naruto for training across dimensional rifts would take way longer, and would be cruel to Kushina, and Kyushu, and Kami being Kami, decided that every time any one of them would take him to train only 1 year, would take place over the void they were staying in. So every time they would take Naruto for 1000 years, only 1 year would take place in the void. It was kinda sad and cruel if you asked them. Every time they would see him off only to see him the very next year older, and hotter, and smarter, and with more power. It would appear that not having their sexual relations is getting to them, so anyway, moving on. Whenever Naruto would return back from his 1000-year trip with one of the goddesses, he would just be even more affectionate towards the women who birthed him, and the pet, as what the goddesses told him to call her. It was sweet, but it really didn't help seeing him become more sexy over the years. The goddesses would give Naruto a week at least to rest with them before going back to train. That held their nerves to a certain, though the first year Kami took him, then Yami afterwards, then Shinigami lastly. Then all three of them would take him to test him after a certain period of time, just like today. However, today's test is his final test. This would happen in cycle every year until now. But back to that book, however, it got Kushina thinking though, about a character, and the other young woman's character that resided in the book. Why did it portray him, and everyone else in that way? Was it telling her that she should follow Kushina's steps in the book? She didn't know, but she does know that in a couple more hours Naruto will return, and he will be 16. Where is he now, you may ask? He is currently battling out against all three goddesses in an abandoned dimension to assess if he has what it takes to entertain and please them. She just hopes Naruto makes it to the end of today. Even if she knows he will prosper, she can't help but worry about her sunshine blonde boy. Please survive, Sachi pleaded Kushina Uzumaki in her mind. She was garbed in a dark red and black battle kimono that left her shoulders exposed and only reached to her mid-thigh, puffed with a blush as she crossed her arms under her bountiful chest. Her feet were covered in black combat heels, and she had not a patient expression. The dark blue-black mist portal opens, and out walks the three goddesses, Kyushu, and finally her pride, and sunshine, lifeline, Naruto Uzumaki. They have finally returned from his test, and of course being his mother, she had to the right worry, and the right to. Sachi. Jumping to him in the air with affection, she held him tight, and with her thick legs over on another. Sachi. You're okay. Kushina said happily, and glad is safe from the big test today. Naruto, seeing how worried she was, smiled, and held Kushina tight in his arms, giving her a comfort hug. You don't have to worry all the time, you know, Ka-chan. She started crying and sniffling midway. I thought I told you long ago that I would always find my way back to you, my fire star. She held Naruto as tight as she could now, knowing why the book portrayed her in that lighting. Because just like many Uzumaki, the heart wants what the heart wants. Uzumaki will pursue the partner they desire until they have it. So it wasn't any more surprising that it did happen there. She wondered though if maybe it could or even would happen here. Kushina, finally getting the hang of herself, got off Naruto and finally took notice of how he changed this zero, or in his case 1000 year. Naruto was now sporting a dark black cloak with orange, blue, and the colors that signified the three goddesses around it. It also had an applied hoodie and the Uzumaki clan symbol on it, so that's good. Underneath the cloak, he wore a black tank top with white and blue symbols with a mesh cover over it. Black shinobi pants, and the same combat boots from before with the same wrapping on the same places as before, but this time it was white colored and not teal. Kushina loved the new look on him, especially since it was him, but something didn't add up. A smell. There was a smell radiating around them, and she could help ask herself what was that smell radiating in the air all of a sudden. Meanwhile, Kushina kept trying to figure out what the smell was. The four newly arrived guests now knew she would figure it out if they didn't do something fast, but they just couldn't stop themselves from reminiscing the past events. A few hours ago, unknown location. Naruto eventually woke up and was surprised to find himself in an unknown location. He was in a room he hasn't seen before, in a bed, bandaged, healed to a certain extent, and in his pants on, and with new left hand to arm wrappings, only. The room was fairly simple, a normal-sized bed, a dresser close to the door, and a cardboard desk, and with a mirror right next to him. He got up fairly easily, which didn't surprise him because of his rapid healing abilities, and immortality power via other powers, etc. Once he found himself able to move freely, he found himself finding a note on the desk right next to him. Come meet us next door. Zuxo, your four secret admirers. The note was pretty vague, but Naruto knew this handwriting, so he knew he could trust the person or people who wrote this. He took one more look around the room before exiting through the door. He was confused to find himself here in this avoid place, but all his worries disappeared when he opened the door next to his. The door opened to reveal Heaven's treasure. Kami stood at the door wearing a very skimpy black and white bunny suit, which did a very fantastic job showing off her incredible assets. Kami, It's good to see you awake, Naruto, she said, letting him in, coated in blush, and a soon bloody nose from the imagination lust rush. Yami, indeed, we've been waiting for your arrival, she said saucily, walking in the room wearing a black and red lace panties, and bra only with a gown over her, also showing off her valuable assets. Shinigami, you have no idea just how long we've waited for this moment, she said, appearing behind Naruto playing with his chest area, kinda like a hug. She eventually let go for Naruto to look her up. She wore her normal yukata, yes, but for some reason it was much more smaller, and tighter. It was kind of skimpy, leaving nothing left to imagine. Naruto was now in heaven, but he knew someone was missing. Kyushu, she was standing in a corner wearing a dark red-orange kimono, tightly hugging her assets. Naruto was now really confused, but grateful. Confused, but grateful. He always tried to sneak a peek, but now it seems he doesn't even need to do that anymore. Shinigami, listen Naruto, here's what's going to happen. You are going to sit on that bed over there, and we are going to give you something we've known you always want to. Think of this as your last test, give as the time of our life, and we know you will be capable of entertaining them down there, she said, really going in full seduce, and pointing to the bed in front of them while playing with his chest further. Naruto, well I guess I have no choice, do I, he said, wrapping his arms around her, was not fazed at all about this. Shinigami pouted sexily before pushing him on the bed. Well, curious teen, for that answer you either wait and find or try and get the answers yourself. The choice is yours, she said, kissing his neck. Naruto, Shinai-sensei. Naruto was falling into the abyss. Yami, Kami, and Kyushu then chose to join in. Kami, it's your choice, Naruto, she whispered in his ear, licking around the earlobe sensually. Yami then started to feel Naruto up, and was really trying to hold herself back, and Kyushu was following along from not ripping his pants off to see their monster prize. Meanwhile in Naruto's head it was screaming for him to finally do them, but he was struggling with himself because he knew if he were to get into this, he'd have to finish it, and it has to be the most powerful way for women ever. His inner torment ended over when the Shinigami kissed him straight on the mouth. That was it, that was the moment when his mind turned to mush, and his torment and the mega pervert Naruto would become the raging beast. Naruto, his sexual demon, then awakened, and his first few victims were these angelic beauties. The kiss then started to become more heated, and tongues soon joined in. Meanwhile Naruto started to move his hands within her grey flowing hair, massaging it. Then he slowly moved it down to her neck, then to her boobs, and then to her waist, and ever so sneakily moved it to her fat ass. Shinigami started to overheat both from the kiss and the onslaught on her body. It was just too much, and they didn't even get to the main part, yet she started moaning relentlessly, heaving her beautiful jugs up and down. It seemed the tongue wrestling got too much for her, so Kami saw the opportunity and took it. She fingered her older sister off and started to go at it with him. Oh god, the kiss to say for Kami at least was gobsmacking. Literally their tongues were now going at it, trying to dominate each other. Naruto hands left Shinigami and started feel Kami, and by the gods, has she never felt this? Naruto hands felt like little lightning bolts, surging all inside her body. His hands went straight to her slender waist, playing with the straps of her bunny suit. Kami started moaning uncontrollably like a whore who hasn't had her fill in a long time. Naruto hands fell to Kami's wobbly fat derriere, and he just started worshipping it, which in turn just added more fuel to the fire, or in Kami's case, added more lightning to the electricity in her fiery loins. Smack! Naruto smacked Kami's ass, leaving a very hot red hand mark. This just made Kami want Naruto more than ever. The kiss lost its domination contract with Kami surrounding Naruto and her lust for him. Kami then straddled him, feeling the snake monster she and her sisters watched and manipulated for years in his pants. Meanwhile with Yami, she was starting to leak pheromones, and it was starting to get to her. The three known goddesses are known to leak pheromones, with Yami being the strongest, since she is the mistress of the underworld anyways. The lustful battle with Naruto and Kami, and the way Shinigami was just kissing and licking all around his body, it was just getting to her. And this was just going to put her in a frenzy, and not the good kind, I mean a demon sex frenzy. It would probably take days just to calm her down. Who knows how long it was going to take her sisters to calm down, because they were also leaking pheromones, but who cares, they have all the time in the world, right? Kami gave it her all, trying to dominate Naruto, and in time it seemed she won the battle, but due to lust overtaking her, he could see she was vulnerable, and took the opportunity to rip her delicious derriere area of the suit. But now, with full access to the back, he started probing her sweet butthole with two of his fingers on one hand. Was Kami's lustful answer, and by all gods and goddesses was it the pleasure only the pure deserved. Naruto played and probed all inside and outside Kami's, and she was losing it, her mind was breaking, but she hanging on a thread barely though. Yami had enough of just watching this enigma of probing sex, and she decided to do the same thing Kami did to their oldest sister. She threw her off Naruto. Kami, Yami, it was just starting to get good, she said, pouting and trying to move, but barely getting any leverage. Yami, oh relax, it's not like you won't get your time again, but as of now it's my turn, she said smugly, with the last part taking the last part of Naruto's pants, trying to see what he held between his legs. And by what all demons held, what she and her sisters saw had to be what they would call the woman's only pleasure tool, aka the beast. What Naruto held was the biggest and thickest piece of meat any man has ever had. standing at 19.5 inches in length and girth with 6.5 inches in width and thickness. It also had some blonde pubic hair on it. It was unquestionably longer and thicker than any person's whole arm area. The whole tool Naruto held would and could most definitely satisfy and break any number of women. With just his Uzumaki stamina, her could do it. But top that with his sizable tool and power he has, there would be no other man who could bring his ideal women pleasure. The three goddesses and Kyushu were now brimming with want and lust, seeing a bit of prey leaking for Naruto's large mushroom, and they just wanted to pounce. Yami was the first person to hold it, seeing as she was the closest to it, and her succumbing to her lust. Kami fellows sweet, and then Shinigami last. Not surprisingly, all three of their hands could not even fit around it. Even if they held it with both of their hands, through their hands couldn't fit around it, they still brought him pleasure. All four of their hands starting moving up and down, using his pre up top on his mushroom had to lubricate him and move faster. God, keep doing that was Naruto's response during the whole ordeal. Pleasure the four of them were giving him. Kyushu, not wanting to left in dark for too long, made a bold move. Clutchu gluck. Kyushu downright started giving Naruto a blowjob, and her message seemed to have gone through to the three goddesses. However, she only managed to get in 9 inches of Naruto's meat down her gullet. Great accomplishment in some cases, but not good enough in hers. Seeing Kyushu's act of trying to be more included in, Naruto chose to help her by pushing Kyushu's head even further beyond the 9 inches before. RGRGH cluck mmm glug. Naruto started deep-throating Kyushu, roughly knowing she would die from this anytime if it was him. And not so surprisingly, he was right. Kyushu was downright drooling and tearing up from the pure pleasure rush of Super Banana. Naruto was giving her, she even had hearts in her eyes. But enough eye quoking, it's time to get back to business. Naruto started thrusting much more faster now, and pushing in more of his banana down her tiny throat hole. It pushed down several more inches, and he was gaining his first orgasm down her throat. And of course we all know Kyushu has been waiting a long time for that Uzumaki seed. And now, after several minutes later, Naruto achieved, and Kyushu finally getting her sauce she wanted. But of course it was more than expected. Naruto's orgasm lasted way longer than she or the others watching expected, and damn was long close from 15 min 30 min. Naruto's lasting time took that long that Kyushu started to get bloated from the amount she received from the taste she analyzed. She found it had a creamy, sweet, but not sugar sweet of course, power radiating. It had a vanilla tasting ore, and hot damn was it addictive. What made it even better was that it had a bunch of his baby's batter within it, delectable, as she does say so herself, haha. Kyushu swallowed every last drop of Naruto's sperm, and good god did it take long. Plop. Finally when Naruto stopped, you could hear strange whimpering noises coming from around the two. And Naruto finally took notice of it, and it was Shinigami, Yami, and Kami. They were biting their fingernails, and playing with themselves, imagining waiting patiently for their turns. Naruto was now even more pumped up than before, and to make sure that none of them would feel left out like Kyushu, Naruto created 3 clones, each goddess getting one, and sent them off. Meanwhile the real Naruto will have some fun with his pet, before going to enjoy the others. Don't get him wrong, he does love her, she knows that, but her knows she needs this desperately. After 16,000 years straight without any sexual activity, he just needed to give it to her, so she don't go on frenzy state, and he intended to follow this out in full. With Clone 1 Shinigami, of pure lustful eyes, Naruto was staring intently on the Shinigami. Now she may be known as the death god, but even she had to admit this was some heavy sexual energy. Tap that with his practical large third leg, and you got the lucky box with a tight knot on a jackpot. Naruto started out by holding Shin-chan by her yukata straps, pulling her in for her Naruto-filled sexual kiss. Jusluck throughout the kiss, Naruto and Shinigami was coping fields that to a normal human may have looked abnormal. Then again, none of them were never normal. Their lip locking eventually ended with a thick string of saliva connecting them with each other. Abs with that gave each other a smile that practically said one down, several more to go. Naruto gave the Shinigami a nice ass squeeze and feel around her majestic body, making her moan like no other, and her nipples hardening, bringing her body to a now constant frenzy heat. Shinigami, Naruto please, I know you wanted to do this for so long, but please, this is torture, she said, holding him close while panting like she ran a marathon. Naruto just smirked and said, why should I do that, Shiny-chan? Tell me why I should just give it to you like that while you and the others tease me and gave me blue balls since I hit puberty. To him it was centuries. I think you need to be punished for what you did to me. Sans to what he just said. He turned her around and started kissing and licking her, working his way down from her neck to her fat derriere. He then bends her over, pushing out her assets out to her maximum. Eventually Naruto got what he wanted from Shinigami, and she was now heaving, panting, and sweating from the torture he put her through. Just when Shinigami thought she could get a moment's rest, Naruto picked her up and put her in a straddle position over him. Please, Naruto, stop this torture, Shinigami pleaded, hoping to finally end her suffering of patience and exhaustion. Naruto just then started dry humping her and put her back into submission. Now Shinigami thought that there was no hope to end her suffering, no hope at all. At least it did seem like there was no at all until Naruto stopped midway up and pulled her up until she was close to his face. "If you truly want your suffering to end, tell me truthfully what is it you want from me," he whispered in her ear, biting it to influence her sex drive more. Shinigami wanting this end said without so much as a thought, "Naruto, please give me your big meat stick and shove it in all of my holes. Give me pleasure that only you can scratch the itch you gave me," she shouted out, then only noticing what she said. Naruto just smirked once more, laying her down gently on the bed, and disregarding her robe she wore. She was now totally butt-ass naked, as the day she birthed the multiverse along with her sisters and relatives. And by now the Shinigami was getting impatient. Naruto finally seeing her naked in all of her glory, he decided to finally stop giving her what he wanted. Now with Naruto being on top of the Shinigami, his mushroom was just sitting a few meters away from her hole, but first he had to ask, "Are you ready, Shinmai-chan?" he asked with a dark lustful smirk. The Shinigami now knew what this meant. When Naruto calls her Shinmai-chan, which is very rare, she knew it was serious, and of course she had to also answer seriously. "Yes, my Naruto-kun, I've never been more ready in all of my life, so please stop worrying about me, and just stop all this teasing," she said in a gentle serious tone, caressing his whiskers on his cheek. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. And make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.